Hello, and welcome to Joline Knits a Lot. This is my show about knitting and crafting and the things that I get up to here in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. I've just realized that most of the things that I get up to are knitting and crafting. How are you? It's June. It's beautiful and hot here. In fact, Edmonton is under a heat dome. Weather terms just means it's going to be kind of hot for the next couple days, which is actually fine for us. The only problem is that our lovely dog Blue, who is a corgi and mostly black, can't really handle the heat so much, which means we take him out in the morning and then we try and wait in the evening till it's cooler so he doesn't get too hot. How are you? What have you been up to? There's so many new and exciting patterns coming out right now that I am very excited about, that I thought I would share with you after I have given you a taste of what I've been working on. The last time I talked to you, I had been knitting a lot of hats, and I'm sorry to tell you that not much has changed. I'm just gonna fly these by you because you don't need to see all of them again, but my daughter and I have been knitting some hats for charities. I had found a pattern called the Basic Beanie, which I will include in the show notes below. This is a free pattern. It has sizes of hats from very small to very big, and you can either knit these flat or in the round. I like to knit hats in the round, but you can do whatever you like. And I've used up some leftover DK yarn. That's all there is to say. I have knit this hat, and this hat, and this hat, and this hat, and I'm gonna add those to the pile of hats that I've already knit. My daughter had run out of the fancy yarn that she was using and asked me if I had any yarn that she could use to knit some more little kid hats. You don't knit, you don't have opposable thumbs. Sorry. Anyway, I found a ball of some worsted weight. I believe this is a Corriedale. It's a yarn that I had from Custom Woolen Mills, I believe. And we just kind of came up with a pattern for these two little hats that she made. So they are all going in our donation pile, Blue. And I haven't actually counted. I thought I'd wait till we were together to do an official count of all the hats that we're donating between Ava and I. So I made this antler hat, and then, so that's 1. Ava made these 3 fun hats, that's 4. Ava made 2 more hats, that's 6. And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 basic beanies, that's 11. I almost feel like I should make 1 more hat to make it an even dozen. And these hats are going to be donated to Craft for Yay. They do a sort of a crafty roundup a few times a year. The next one is on June 17th. So I will be taking these to be donated next weekend. Hello. I have tried to distract my dog with quiet treats. Let's see how long it lasts. I've got to tell you that I am wearing my outline tee. This is a pattern by Jessie May Designs, the fabulous Jessie May. I knit mine in Kelbourne Woolens Mojave Cotton Linen Blend, which has become my go-to for summer knits. And this is some peachy something color. It's great, especially for hot days like today. So after knitting all those hats, I was really on a hat kick. And I thought maybe my husband and I could use some new hats. So I pulled out the Harlow Hat. This is a pattern by Andrea Renee Knits, or Andrea Mowry. And I've had this pattern for a long time, but I never really had a great desire to knit it. I don't know why. But I pulled it out and I started. I used Sadness Garn Double Sunday in the whipped cream color. This is some leftovers from my Marseille sweater. I still have more, don't worry. So that's the main color here. And then I used, for Conscious Colors, some odds and ends of Dream State by Spin Cycle. Now, I'm not usually super precious about my leftovers of yarn. If I have a little bit, I might put it aside for another project, but if I have tiny, tiny balls, I often don't keep them. However, with Dream State and Dyed in the Wool, the two yarns by Spin Cycle, I do keep them. They're so precious, and I always think, oh, maybe I'll find a way to use them. So in this hat, I used a bunch of little balls that I had. Some of them were leftovers from projects that I had made. Some of them were from some bundles that they have. Spin Cycle will sell like small amounts of their yarn kind of bundled together, and they have these sales a couple times a year. I had bought one of Dream State, and it had some small amounts of yarn. In this case, I think it was maybe like 30 grams for some colors. So this pink down here was one of those. And it was either like an end of the skein that wasn't quite enough to make another full-size ball, or maybe there was seconds, like something wrong with it. And to be honest, I don't know where all these yarns came from. I had a small amount of something that was like lavendery and brown, and then something that was more brown. In fact, I think this one might have been left over from a sweater I made, or a shawl, I can't even remember. And then this really lovely burgundy at the top. So you can see that this hat is quite reversible. If I want to be more colorful, I can have this side out. The only difference is the lines of the decreases change. So you can see here, I don't know what happened there, I'm gonna be honest with you. This is the wrong side facing. It's only really the wrong side because it was worked with the other side out. So this is what the decreases look on this side. And then when the right side is out, this was the right side just when I was knitting it. I don't think there's a right or a wrong side. Anyway, this is what the decreases look like here. And I do like it with the white and the little pink sort of popping out. And this is what it looks like. When you stretch it on your head, you do get to see the contrast colors more. And I have a feeling that this is going to be quite a cozy hat because everything is really doubled. That's the beauty of brioche stitch. Every stitch is a stitch and a shawl or a hug or whatever of the other color. So you can see that when you put it on, it stretches out and you can see that contrast color nicely. So I was liking this hat and I thought my husband could probably use one too, and I started one for him. This is the larger size, and for the main color I am using a skein of Brooklyn Tweed Shelter. And this was, again, just like a random skein of yarn that I had left over. I think this was maybe from my dad's sweater at Christmas time. Dog hair. And then the contrast color that I'm using right now is, again, one of the sort of seconds skeins that I had received from Spin Cycle. It's Dream State. And this is how his hat's going. I think you'll like it. I really like the navy and the blue. And if I'm careful, I could probably flip this inside out so you can see the other side. Again, that's the beauty of brioche stitches, is really is quite reversible. So if I'm a little bit more careful with the decreases, he could wear this either way that he likes. And that's coming along nicely. It's not a very complicated pattern. If you're familiar with how two-color brioche works, then this pattern is not difficult. Even those decreases that happened on this hat are not difficult, but I did have to have the instructions near me, and I needed a space where I could focus the first few times I did those decreases, because you decrease 4 stitches on each of these decrease rounds. So it wasn't difficult, but I did need to have a moment to focus. And then once I'd done it, probably that first round, because you do it 4 times a round, as you can see. Once I had done that first round, I kind of had the idea of how it went. So it is not difficult, but I would say that you do need to have sort of some time and space to focus when you get to the decreases. And what else have I been working on? I started my June socks, sock tubes, and I have one not really done, but almost done. I did a toe and a cuff, and I'm working on the other one, but this is just my June sock tube. This is some homespun house. And I'm sorry, I don't remember the color, but I had cranked these quite some time ago. And for these socks, I decided to use the same color because I had some left over to do the cuff at the top, and I will probably do the heel in this navy color, assuming I have enough, and I believe I do. So yeah, that's one of my June socks off the needles. Now, I kind of wanted to blaze through my knitting projects because they are things I'm working on, but not super exciting. Not as exciting as the next thing I have to show you. Now, it turns out the world is very, very excited about granny squares. Everybody and their dog excited about the granny squares. Grocery girls are having a hot granny summer, I think, knit along. I just heard about it the other day, which I was excited about because I'm already grannying along. There are some sock patterns. I will pop a picture here, which incorporate tiny little granny squares in the sock cuff. It's very cute. There are all sorts of granny patterns right now. It's really like a granny movement. And I accidentally jumped on board before I knew that was a thing. So interesting. But if you recall, I was making some granny squares and I had a pile of them. I had 35 granny squares that I had whipped up after learning how to make them at the beginning of May. They were really addictive. I had a pile of them and I wanted to do something with them. I didn't want them to just sit there. So I did some searching, and I believe some of you may have helped, but I found inspiration in the Ariana pattern by Amy Christoffers. I'm gonna stick a picture right here. This is a really, really cool cardigan sweater that incorporates knitted edgings. So there's knitted ribs at the cuffs, at the neckline, at the hem, and I was really inspired by this sweater. I really liked how the granny squares were set on an axis so that they were more like diamonds. And I was really interested in trying to make a version of this sweater with the squares that I had made. Now, I didn't nearly have enough to make that sweater. I didn't let that stop me. I had 35 squares from the 5 skeins of 5 different colors that I had purchased from Knit Picks, and I wasn't really interested in getting 5 more skeins for the sake of a few squares. So I started doodling, and I came up with a plan. And that plan was to make the crochet squares into the body of a sweater, and then I thought I could pick up and knit the sleeves. I mean, I've certainly done that on a lot of sweaters before, so this seemed sort of within my wheelhouse, if you will. So that's what I did. I ordered some yarn to be the outline color of my very, very colorful granny squares. I'll pop a picture here of what my granny squares look like. So super colorful. And I thought it might be nice to have a color that would ground them. Still let the colors be exciting, but sort of give them a bit of a toning down. So I picked a color. All of these are Knit Picks, Wool of the Andes. I picked the penguin color, which is sort of a deep charcoaly black color. And I started outlining. I used tutorials on YouTube, which I will try and link to in the show notes below, on the crochet join as you go technique. This is fabulous. I loved it because on my last round of the granny square, when I was doing the outlines, I could join that square to another square. So I wasn't having to seam it after the fact. The way that the Ariana sweater comes together is that it needs some half squares or triangles to sort of fill in some of the gaps. And so I ended up tearing apart 10 of the granny squares that I'd already made and creating triangles to fit in wedges in an effort to sort of create the shape I was looking for. Now, sometimes when you don't know what you're doing, you have the bravery to just go ahead and try. And I feel like that's what this sweater is for me, because I didn't really know what I was doing, but I had sort of an ending point in mind. I just kind of went for it. I tore apart squares I had already made. I seamed them together. I did all sorts of outlining, and let me show you where I'm at. Whoop. Now, so this is difficult, I think, to see, because this in the front, I've got some armholes and I've got like a V-neck going on here. It is quite a deep V. And originally my plan was to, let me figure this out. Here we go. My plan was to just have, here's one of the half squares. My plan was just to have this and to not have this square here or this one here, so that it looked more like an even line, and then I would have a raglan sleeve. So the raglan sleeve would start up here and go down. But then I realized if I added one more triangle over the shoulder, it would look more like a fitted sleeve and be a little bit more, what's the word? I thought it would just give it more of a like custom look instead of the raglan sleeve. It might be a bit more, not formal. Formal isn't the word, but let me show you how it looks. Ooh. I forgot that crochet is a lot heavier and denser than knitting. Let me show you. Ta-da! Now this is a very, very preliminary try on. So you can see, if I didn't have these triangles on the shoulders, the sweater would look much more like almost a baseball tee, if you will, which is okay. But I just thought, if I did it this way, then I could have a more fitted sleeve. So now my plan is to take this off because it's kind of warm. My plan is to start with the bottom hem, because that will give me a place to practice picking up all these stitches on the crochet fabric. Somehow I managed to turn my sweater inside out. Okay, so the bottom hem is a series of triangles. As you can see here, it's the same in the front and the back. So I'm going to be picking up along that sort of edge. Now when I made these triangles as per the pattern, the Ariana pattern, there is sort of like a line, maybe you can see it better this way, a line of double crochet stitches that I can pick up into. And the pattern tells me how many stitches per triangle to pick up. So I'm going to use that as a guideline. I'm going to use a 4.5 millimeter needle, and I'm going to pick up stitches along the bottom and knit the hem. And that will sort of, I think, give me an idea of, is that the right needle size? Is that, it'll sort of teach me how to pick up the stitches so that I get a look that I like. And then the next step, I think, will be to pick up and knit the ribbed neckband. Now it is quite a low, it's quite low right now. It's quite low. What I'm hoping to do is to knit at least maybe 1.5 inches to 2 inches of neckband that will lift this up. It will also sort of bring this together so that right now, all of these crochet squares and triangles are just like sort of hanging out, and it will give it some structure. So I think that will not necessarily pull it in a lot, but it'll give it some structure. My plan also is to pick up stitches all the way around. Sometimes it's a triangle, like here and here, and then down here it is the edge of one of these squares, like this edge. And then in the bottom of the V, which is, oh, this is difficult to show you, right down here, my plan is just to do a central double decrease. So that will give me a line of knit stitches up the center of that decrease so that it looks really like a purposeful V-neck. That is all the plans I have for right now. The sleeves, I have thoughts on the sleeves. And I think sleeves, for the few times I have designed sweaters, the sleeves can be the most complicated part. But this is my plan. This is what I'm thinking. I'm going to pick up stitches all along this edge, all the way around. And then probably what I will do is work from the top. I'll probably knit a bit of a few stitches, so maybe 8 stitches. And then I'm going to start working short rows back and forth to sort of form a sleeve cap until I get to the bottom of this sleeve side, fancy word for the armhole. And then I'm going to knit straight with decreases till I get to the cuff. That is the plan. I'm sure something will go wrong with that. I will let you know. If you're interested in this whole journey, I don't really like that word, but if you're interested in this whole scheme, I am recording sort of step by step as I go, creating this sweater. So if you're interested, I'll probably will have a video at the end from sort of conception of this sweater design project scheme to completion. So watch this space. We'll see how this turns out. I'm not rushing it. I don't really have, I mean, this is going to be a heavy sweater. Already it is quite heavy. Crochet is much more dense than knitted fabric. And so I am kind of glad that the sleeves will be knit, and that will make them a little bit lighter than the body itself. And then all of the ribbing around the crochet should give it a little bit of structure, I'm hoping. But I'll let you know. Are you obsessed with the Crochet Granny square? Like I said, it's really having a movement. Once I finish this sweater, I might be sort of needing a break from the old Crochet Granny square. But so far it's been really, really fun. I actually think I'm done all of the crochet in this sweater, and now I'm switching over to knitting. And to be honest, the knitting is the stuff that I'm more familiar with, or maybe slightly more confident with. So we'll see how it turns out. Let me know if you are all caught up in the crochet craze like I am, like a lot of people seem to be this summer. I told you I was going to share some patterns that have come out that have got me a little bit excited about knitting, and I think I'll do that right now. I often find that it's like September, even August, when all of these fabulous fall sweaters are coming out, that I get really excited about knitting again. But for some reason right now, there are a ton of really, really cute little patterns coming out that have me wanting to drop everything and knit them. I was going to say I won't, but I can't promise that. I'm going to try really hard to stick to the projects that I have so that I can sort of stay on track with the things that I'm knitting. But let me give you an idea of some of the things that have come out that have got me excited. Now, there are some really, really cool sock patterns coming out. One of them I showed you earlier, which is that Crochet Granny Square sock pattern. I find this really interesting. Right now, I don't know if I'm like in a space where I want to think about making little crochet squares and then knitting a sock, but I could see that time coming. So this pattern is going into my Ravelry queue. The other thing that I'm super excited about are these folk socks by Summer Lee Designs. Summer Lee makes the most fabulous socks, and there is a pair of her socks that I'm going to be casting on sooner rather than later. But these socks are just super cute. They have color work, they have stripes, and I am really excited about giving these ones a try. There is another pattern coming out in July that I don't have a picture for, but KF Jones of the Bakery Bears shared a pattern earlier this summer on one of their podcasts of a sock designed to be knit with self-striping yarn, and I have a ton of self-striping yarn. And this sock features a feather and fan or old shale type lace pattern, and I am here for it. I love me some feather and fan / old shale. I don't know, it's just something about it. It's really soothing. It's a lovely, lovely fabric. And I just think to have some nice lacy socks with some of the self-striping yarn that I have been hanging on to, I think that'd be a great use of that yarn. So I'm looking forward to that pattern coming out in July. There are also a couple of top patterns that I'm super excited about. One of them is coming out later in June, and it is I think it's called the mock neck tank. I could be wrong. I'm going to throw a picture in here. This is another pattern by Jessie May. I love her stuff. Anyway, I think that this would be a really cute pattern. I think it'd be a nice little addition to your wardrobe. You could wear it in the summer months, and then you could layer sweaters over top of it in the winter months. So this is something that is on my radar. And Blue's also very excited. And finally, this pattern just came out this past week. It's the As If Tee in a fingering weight yarn, and I saw this pattern and I thought it was cute, and then I found out that the yarn that it's knit in was having a sale, and I fell down that rabbit hole. So I am super excited about the As If Tee. I think this is a really cute, especially in a light fingering weight, so lighter weight fabric. I plan on making mine in a navy, which I'm really into navy right now. I don't know why that is, but I just think it'd be a cute top to wear with jeans if I'm going out for dinner with my husband. And I wasn't too worried about Blue. Wasn't worried either. Some of the tank tops that some of the test knits of this pattern that I have seen were knit in super bright, fun colors, and I think they're great. In fact, the initial pattern is a beautiful, like mango-y orange color. It's beautiful. But for me, I was thinking that this might be a more sort of formally type outfit that I could wear out for dinner. And then in that case, it didn't really matter if it was a darker color because I wasn't going to be wearing it out in like super hot days in the sun. This is my thinking. It could be that I make this sweater again in a super bright color. But for right now, the plan is navy, and the yarn has been ordered, so it's on its way. So for some reason this spring, I'm super excited about a lot of different patterns. I'm excited about crochet granny squares. I'm excited about some really fun, colorful sock patterns, and I'm excited about some new tops. So we'll see which of these patterns actually get knitted in the coming months. I will obviously keep you up to date on what I've been making, but I really want to tackle this crochet sweater first and sort of get it to the point where I'm either just knitting straight down the sleeves and have figured that out, and then I'll feel like I can think about what it is I want to knit next. How about you? Are there some patterns that are exciting you right now? I was really surprised and delighted to find all these patterns that have been sort of sparking inspiration. I hope that you're finding things to inspire your crafting. I know in the next couple of weeks, I plan on tackling this crochet sweater thing, finishing a hat, some socks, and just crafting a lot. I hope that you find time to do the things that you like to do. I know I plan on knitting a lot. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.